Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Dravya Bhuyo Varena Pasturiyam Jagrihumalam Tashabubu Budbuda Penabhyam Drishtam Tadharati Kshitpan Dravya Bhuyo Varena Pasturiyam Jagrihurmalam Tashabudbuda Penabhyam Drishtam tadharati kshipan Dravya bhuyo varena pasturiyam jagrihurmalam Ashubudbudabhenabhyam Drishtam tadharati kshipan. Anyone like to chant?
Dravyabuyo varena pas turiyam jagrahor malam asu bud buddha hedabhyam drishtam tad dharati shipan.
Dravya bhuyo varena pas turiyam jagrahur malam tasu buddha fenabhyam drishtaram tadra darati krispan.
Aye, thank you. Dravyam, other things, bhuyaha, of increasing, varena, by the benediction, apaha, water, turiyam, 1/4, jagrihu, accepted, malam, the sinful reaction, tashu, in the water, budbuda, penabhyam, by bubbles and foam, drishtam, visible, tad, that, harati, one collects, kshipan, thrown away. Translation. And in return for King Indra's benediction, that water would increase the volume of other substances with which it was mixed, water accepted 1/4 of the sinful reactions. Therefore, there are bubbles and foam in water. When one collects water, this should be avoided. If water is mixed with milk, fruit juice, or other similar substances, it increases their volume, and no one can understand which has increased. In return for this benediction, water accepted 1/4 of Indra's sinful reactions. These sinful reactions are visible in foam and bubbles. Therefore, one should avoid foam and bubbles while collecting and drinking water. Let's do one more verse. Hataputras tatastvashta Juhavendraya Shatrave Indra Shatro Vivardhasva Ma Chiram Jahi Vidvisham. After Vishvarupa was killed, his father, Tvashta, performed ritualistic ceremonies to kill Indra. He offered oblations in the sacrificial fire, saying, O enemy of Indra, flourish to kill your enemy without delay. Purport. There was some defect in Tvashta's chanting of the mantra because he chanted it long instead of short, and therefore the meaning changed. Tvashta intended to chant the word Indra Shatra, meaning O enemy of Indra. In this mantra, the word Indra is in the possessive case, Shasti, and the word Indra Shatra is called a Tat Purusha compound. Tat Purusha Samasa. Unfortunately, instead of chanting the mantra short, Tvashta chanted it long, and its meaning changed from the enemy of Indra to Indra, who is an enemy. Consequently, instead of an enemy of Indra's, there emerged the body of Vritrasura, of whom Indra was the enemy. End of the purport. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayarupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate, Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarine, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. That's when we chanted Prabhupada's Pranam to the Murti. Prabhupada has opened the curtains. Okay. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I don't know how to possess myself in a way that you see me or I see you. Well, of course, you don't have videos on, but anyway, since you're my audience, I have to look there sometimes. Okay, so this is the fourth, well, water in one sense is also personality, but as a whole, water has absorbed as one of the five elements of material world. It accepted that Indra's sin. So whenever we see a water reservoir, whether a lake or a river, we can see where the form is occurring. That place is not suitable for taking the drinking water. And it's actually quite visible here in Gita Nagari. If you go to the bathing ghat that we have, on the left side when you get to the bathing ghat where the bench is, and if you look on the left, there's a little part near the bank where a lot of foam is occurring, like really a lot. So obviously, if that creek would be drinkable, we would not collect the water from that side. We would just do it somewhere in the middle of the river. That's how they collect water from the Ganges, Yamuna, or Saraswati. Usually they go in the water, kind of almost to the middle, then get the water out, and then bring it. And it can be used for deity worship as well as for even for drinking. Not for imitation for us, the Western devotees, but there are people still drinking Ganges water, not in Hardwar, but actually, pretty much anywhere. So it's to do with faith, but it's to do with also, I guess, trust to Mother Ganges that she's not gonna kill you or cause you trouble, but actually purify you. Which is true. Spiritually, it's always true, even if you get some disease. But when we come in for parikramas to the holy dhams, we have to ensure we're not overeating and we're not imitating great devotees, and remaining be respectful, but not. You don't have to really imitate in that sense and go and drink Ganges because you might up having a stomach bug, and instead of parikrama in association with sadhus, you'll miss all the kirtans and all that, just being sick. So that's about water, and of course it says here also that it acquired a benediction, that it can increase any substance, and you cannot tell that what has been increased. You can see the volume, you can still feel the taste. Unless it's really, really diluted, say 1 to 10 with water, then you don't feel much of the milk anymore. You still feel the milk, but it's kind of like not so frothy, not so fatty, and one may tell the difference. But in general, this benediction of water is abused by trades class nowadays, and things get diluted a bit more to save money on the other ingredients, because water is generally for free. The pure water you can get almost for free everywhere, and not everywhere, but in many places, most of the places on earth. And if you dilute the milk or the juice and sell it as juice, you can have a higher profit, right? Because you diluted it more. In fact, most profitable things you can, in terms of margin, if you go to a cafe or any food court, the businesses are not making money on the food actually, because margin on the food is 10, 20, 30, sometimes 50%, and that's about it. Whereas the margin on coffees, teas, and all those drinks is at least 10 times, at least. So, because most of it is just water, and then there's this ingredient that gives you that color, either coffee bean or tea bag, herb, or anything like that, juice. So the quantity, the comparison between the actual ingredient and the water is immense, and so that's what they are living from. And of course, the restaurants in Kali Yuga live from selling alcohol rather than food again. So that's basically, those things are the profit-driven substances because of that benediction of water. In any case, of course, water is the most important purificatory element in life of devotees. We take bath and shower 2 to 3 times, depending on the climate, a day, and we use water for achmans and for purifying spaces, for washing the clothes, washing the space. So it's the drink that brahmanas drink. Actual drink, the favorite substance that brahmanas drink is water, not sparkling water with like fizzy drinks, not even juices, just water, pure water. Krishna says, "I'm rasaham apsukanti, I'm the taste of water," and brahmanas like to get association with Krishna in that original form. Original form, I'm the taste of water, not water with something. Milk also, as a very liquid religion, it's also a favorite, number 2. But number 1 is water. And of course, water satisfies the taste, it hydrates the body, it detoxicates the body from different toxins and heavy metals and whatnot. It gives the blood the right oxygen, and so many things. It sets up the digestion system. So water is extremely important, to drink it enough during the day, pure water, and like that. But enough for water, about water, even though it's very nice. Let's do the second verse, where we can hear more about mantras. So Tvashta, the father of Vishwarup, and here's so many things, right? Anxiety and protection over the children, natural protection, and in this case, it's not really protection. It's a revenge kind of spirit that took over. So, as they say, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? So that biblical principle is that if somebody caused harm, they should be punished accordingly. An eye for an eye means not you got one eye pierced and then I'll pierce 2 of yours. No, same reaction in form of punishment supposed to come. And so Indra killed Vishwarup, and so Tvashta obviously wanted to punish Indra. And the way he's Brahmana, so he's not gonna take a weapon and go challenge Indra like that. He's performing a yagya and putting the ghee in the fire and chanting certain mantras. But there are quite a few stories in Srimad Bhagavatam when the mantras are chanted and there is just one length of the sound which is not pronounced properly, and the result is different. In the ninth canto, there's a story when a king wanted a son and the mantra was a little wrong, and then the daughter was born like that. So there could be a little mistake that could lead to a different result. And Srila Prabhupada stressed to us that in Kali Yuga, all of the mantras to perform yagyas are not that they're not invalid, but there are two things for mantras to be potent: the purity of the Brahmana, that means completely pure-hearted person. Where can you find that today? And then second is the pronunciation. The rhythm and the melody that is used, not melody, but the rhythm and the meter that is used to pronounce really properly. It involves, it's like an art that involves the whole body. It's actually the mudras and the way you sit and the way your tongue and teeth and like the head is working during that pronunciation. It's like a, if we would look, if we would look at the performances back then on the Brahmanas, it's amazing how that sounds actually. So nonetheless, even at that time when they were qualified to pronounce, still they were making mistakes sometimes. That's why the head priest had to be very, very diligent to appoint certain classes of brahmanas for certain hymns. And there was like, for example, there was one part of I forgot if it was Samaveda or some hymns from specific hymns that only the young boys of brahmanas, so in other words, children, would be chanting, reciting, because they had exactly the timbre or something that was needed for that to be like perfect. So there was a lot of things, like for bigger yagas, especially like Ashramedha yaga, there was so much to, and so the responsible priests were like really ensuring that everybody is like knowing what they're doing at the right place, performing it. So, and Srila Prabhupada said to us that, today, in this day and age, it's, we cannot even chant Hare Krishna properly. So I remember His Holiness Bhakti Vibhava Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada disciple, he was going with this, this tube that enhances your hearing, like you hear better when you, this little tube, and then at the end there's like a enlargement. So he was going, devoted for chanting, he was going with it, listening to every devotee chanting, and he would correct them. He was like, you say that here you're losing like a letter, saying this or like that. And he would be just correcting the way they pronounce Hare Krishna. But even though it's nice to pronounce Hare Krishna properly, we may not have enough teeth, and so the sound comes out a bit strange. Or in some countries, people are bereft of the ability to pronounce certain sound, like Chinese, they cannot pronounce R. And so instead of Krishna, it will be Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They're not majority, like 95%. They're not able to pronounce R. In fact, and in Japan, it's vice versa. They cannot pronounce L. So instead of love, they will say Rav. Instead of my mother's name Olga, they would say Orya. Oля, they would say Orya, Orya, like that. So it's like a speech defect because of the type of the language and the area, etc. So you just cannot pronounce. But because Krishna is a person, it's not just mantra, it's actually his names. So when we call in, when we know whose name are we chanting, even though the name would be imperfect, the person would respond. So if I'm from China and I'm calling Taraka Prabhu Talaka Prabhu, but because he knows I'm calling him Talaka Prabhu, he would respond because he's kind, he's a person, he understands. So that's why the only mantra that has an effect and is valid for this day and age is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Not because of that, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sets this truth as a most powerful method of self-realization. Haranama, Haranama, Haranama eva kevalam, kalam nasti vanasti vanasti gatiranath. That there's no other way than chanting the holy name. Why? Because we're so fallen. We cannot pronounce anything, cannot remember anything. Thanks God we can remember the three names of God and just repeat them over and over. And by calling and repeating, hearing, we purify our heart, as we know. We are purifying our mind. We are, desiring to live in association with the Lord constantly. Kirtaniya Sadahari, eventually, constantly. And we started at least with something, like 16 rounds minimum. As something. That's a good something. Srila Prabhupada asks us to do so, and so we trying to follow, which is the minimum for us, and Krishna accepts that minimum because he's pure devotee, established that number of rounds. So there may be mistakes, right? And this Brahmana made a mistake, there will be a consequent result. We'll hear it in the next few verses. What wonderful creature would come out from that, and how scary he would be, but in the end, he's actually devotee, so it's not going to be a big disaster. And yeah, well, let me see. The time is still. Anyway, if you have any, it's short purpose, so I don't know what else to add to this much. But my main point, I tried to say that we still chant other mantras, right? I mean, we recite the kids in Mayapur and Gurukula, they learn in Purusha Sukta and all that, and chanting those mantras when the yagas are performed. That's nice. It's good. It's not like no, there's no other mantras to chant. There are, but the main point is that there could be imperfections, and even when we perform those yagas, there's like a mantra saying that, like, please forgive us. It could be this or that, mistakes, offenses, imperfections, but please just take the essence. And the essence is that we're trying to please you. And then we chant the Hare Krishna, right, during the yaga also, and that's the main part of the yagas. The main part of the main mantra as part of the yaga is actually Hare Krishna mantra. When devotees are assembled and they chant Hare Krishna, then the yaga will be complete. Will be perfect. Because that's the prescribed yaga. Japo japo yaga. How's the verse in Bhagavad Gita that I'm from the chanted I'm japa, I'm holy name. So we have to stress that most of the time. And Krishna is very kind. So even though we will chant imperfectly his name, if the intention is right and enthusiasm is there, determination is there, meaning we continue. So even if our whole life we will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna will come. Krishna will respond. Krishna will appear in a heart and in meditation, his pastimes, qualities, associates, everything will come. That's the beauty of it. And mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, if you have any additions, deep thoughts about water or mantras or touch this situation, let's feel free to add.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
I guess in 20.
We have a little bit of time, so
Jai.
I have a few comments in connection with today's text and also yesterday's text. Over the years, devotees have had questions about some of these verses. Water polluted with bubbles and foam. Sometimes you can see clearly there is some film on the water, and it will form bubbles. And so obviously the water is contaminated and should be avoided. Sometimes devotees choose to err on the side of caution, and they will not accept carbonated beverages. Like Perrier water, naturally carbonated, there are devotees who will not drink that. Similarly, there are devotees who will not accept maple syrup, or in some cases, some choose to avoid hing or asafoetida, which is also the sap of actually not a tree. Maple syrup, of course, is the sap of a tree, but asafoetida actually comes from it's a herbivorous plant, kind of like a weed that grows in desert areas, dry, arid areas, and it's not exactly the sap the dried sap that is used for hing. It's the exudate of the root. It has a large single tap root, like a carrot. So incisions are made in the root, and a milky sort of exudate will gradually drip from the root, and that's collected and dried. So that's where hing comes from. So it could be classified differently. It's not exactly the sap of a tree, but maple syrup, on the other hand, is clearly the sap of a tree. So there are devotees who will not accept maple syrup, and I have not um, come across anything authoritative about maple syrup per se. Haven't seen any comments from Srila Prabhupada about maple syrup exactly. Here at Gita Nagari, in the history of Gita Nagari, there was a time some years back when Jai Gopal was collecting maple sap and wanting to get down to syrup. He was not aware of this statement in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was done at that time, and now it's being done once again. And but I'm quite certain that His Holiness Deva Amrita Swami is aware, and he has not put the brakes on this project. He's actually paid for the construction of the sugar shack, so evidently it is going on with his sanction. So I guess somehow it's okay. I look forward to a chance to talk to him and find out what his reasoning is, but I guess he thinks that maple syrup is okay. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear if you have any thoughts on any of these matters.
Yeah, I had actually the same question because I've been asked personally many times by devotees the same thing, and I didn't come up with any like how can I cannot speculate about it. Of course, one thing is we're not drinking sap as such; we're drinking the residue of that sap, which is boiled down to maple syrup, as you have said. So sap is actually water, mainly water, and what the maple syrup is basically the sugar. It's actual sugar with a little constant of little component of little water left in it. So of course, it's we can speculate about sin. Where was it present in water or in a sugar? But anyway, like I know they drink in the sugarcane juice, right? But this is not. And Prabhupada did drink that also. But of course, that's not a tree. It's a grass. Same as palm. Palm is actually also, technically speaking, a grass, even though it's a bit weird grass, looks like a tree. It is classified as a grass, but both of those juices are drank, sugarcane and palm, uh, palm sugar and palm juice also, I think they use. And the coconut, of course, juice also. That's this like all the time, the dubs in Mayapur everywhere. So, but as far as syrup's concerned and saps, I don't know. I mean, I heard, but unfortunately I have forgotten the reasoning. But I heard about 5 years ago a lecture specifically on that sap thing. His Grace Madan Mohan Prabhu was doing some research and he was giving some reasoning why it's okay to drink maple syrup, but uh, not to drink, to consume. I cannot drink really maple syrup. But I don't remember unfortunately I don't know how to find the class, and because it was just question in the class, and so but he elaborately explaining because he did his research. So unless see him, and I might see him in Mayapur in a month or two. So maybe I'll ask him if we'll have a conversation. And if I'll find out, I'll send you a message, Taraka Prabhu.
Thank
But
you.
I also do know that many senior Vaishnavas do take the maple syrup. Like they fine with taking it, and it's not just one sannyasi; it's actually quite a few devotees. So everybody's reading Srimad Bhagavatam. They all came through these passages, and they certainly aware of them. Somehow or other, they did consume. I've seen it. I witnessed it on festivals like that. So I've seen many senior devotees taking maple syrup. But I don't have any answer. In fact, I had the same question as you just pointed out. So I would be curious to know more about research on that topic. Because otherwise it sounds pretty straightforward, and so. But say, for example, you're collecting water, and somehow or other you have collected a little bit of those bubbles as you were, or foam, as not maybe foam, but maybe bubbles, few bubbles, when you were collecting water. If you offer it to the Lord, isn't it that, Krishna will take care of all those sins? Even if it's not, if save is by mistake, it's not intentionally, or you will just offer sin to Krishna and then, he will have to accept it and you'll have to accept the sin. I don't know, it's like, mm, it's like it's a field for pure speculation, really. We will not be able to, at least I'm of that opinion that I don't think we'll be able to establish a kind of like a siddhanta on that matter totally. Like for the example I gave specifically, maybe for maple syrup, we can just take it straight as it is in Bhagavatam and just avoid it. Um, you know, if you feel comfortable like that, I guess it's easier also, you know, just avoid one product. So in Russia they drink birch juice, and it's pretty much sap. And devotees had a debate about that birch juice, birch sap, and I think most of the devotees avoided it after that conclusion that they came up to, because that's not even boiled syrup; it's actually sap. So it's got some nice properties, but you know, it's a tree sap. So not more to add to this. Sorry, Darko.
Yeah, it's an interesting question there. Another item popular in Mayapur is date gore or even date syrup. They collect the sap from date trees, but it's a very different kind of tree.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like a grass.
yeah, so doesn't have branches that would regenerate when cut, which was the benediction that the trees took in exchange for those sinful reactions. So, but maple trees, on the other hand, would certainly fall into that category. So it's a peculiar thing.
Yes.
And the laws of karma are very complex, difficult to understand in some cases. Sometimes surprising and counterintuitive the way that things work. For example, Srila Prabhupada explained to devotees when sometimes they were um, in India, we our preaching was mostly making life members, and when visiting people, part of the service is that you have to accept meals from people. You approach businessmen or whomever, they will invite you for meals and you're obliged to accept. Um, or sometimes in the course of traveling, you have to accept food sometimes that may come from um, a situation that is less than ideal. Devotees traveling on Sankirtan will have this experience that you have to purchase something to eat from a grocery store that's also serving meat or selling meat. Um, they will have, a butcher department where all kinds of animal products are being sold. So are you going to be implicated in the animal killing by contributing money to an enterprise that's profiting from the sale of animal flesh? So Srila Prabhupada explained that if you there's a specific injunction that explains this in Shastra. I have it somewhere. I can't recall what it is off the top of my head, but it explains that when you pay for something, it is purified. So you may purchase some fruit from uh, the Weiss market or something, and they're selling meat also. But when you pay for something, it is purified by that process. How that works, I don't understand it. To me, it's counterintuitive. Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what Srila Prabhupada explained. That
Mm.
by making payment, the item becomes purified. Seems to be like it would be the opposite, but that's what he said. And there's actually a specific injunction in Shastra that says that precisely. So very complex, these laws of karma, hard to understand. We can't speculate. We can speculate, but we can't come to any useful conclusion by speculation. We need to have authoritative information from knowledgeable authorities.
Yeah, and
So,
as you said, it's the law of karma is very complex, but at the same time, there has to be some mercy for devotees. We try our best. We try and grow our own food and be self-sufficient, but somewhere we're not able to grow, like we're not able to grow mangoes here, for example, or something. Then when we have to buy, right? Because we would like to offer that to the Lord, and then we can buy it. We can try to buy just from the just fruit vendors if they're available, like grown organically. But if that's not available, then we can buy from other. And also when guests are coming bringing something for the deities, they buy it from all sort of places. And so what does it mean? We have to reject or we have to verify the source. Where did you buy it? And on what money did you buy it? Are you working in in an area uh, where there's no sin, or maybe somebody's working in the meat industry? But because it's brought to the deities, everything actually gets purified. That's the glory of the deities. I did say this once in a class, I think, that Indradyumna Maharaj used to take donations, of course, when they were given, but when he was not sure about the source of the donation, in terms of, a person who gave it to him, about his profession and like that, he put that always in the envelope for the deities. So, and then to whichever deities, whenever he came to some temple, he would give that specific money to the deities, because only they can really purify, as a sun can purify everything, including excrements and so forth. That deities can purify any type of, because everything ultimately belongs to them, so they can purify all sort of sources, even they're not so pious, maybe. But they gave. That means they have gave up, even though it's generated from, say, sinful activity, ugra karma or something. But they gave, and so they need to have the chance to get purified, and how to do that, right? So anyway, conch is blowing, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Playlist, потом morning program. Playlist, потом morning program.